Hi guys, it's Angie with Fun Endeavors Tie-Dye Lab. Today I'm going to use one of Dharma's new curious colors called Crimson Carnage, and I'm going to do it in an incline twist. Dharma did away with their muck dye colors, but this is basically a muck dye color that they've just renamed Curious Colors. And these came out in October of 2025, so they may no longer be available. I'm going to do an incline twist on the shirt, so I'm just grabbing an area right about at the armpit of the shirt, lifting the shirt up off the table, and I'm just going to start to twist it. For reference, this shirt is a size 2X V-neck shirt. I'm going to place the shirt down inside of a piece of vinyl guttering, and this piece of guttering is about 2.5 feet long. To make sure the shirt doesn't slide out of the guttering when I incline it, I'm going to tie a piece of kite string around the very end of the shirt and then attach the other end of the kite string to the end of the vinyl guttering with a metal clip. This shirt pretty much takes up the full length of the guttering though, so it probably is not going to slide out of the guttering. For this shirt, I'm going to apply the dye over the top of the ice, which if you're ever out on any Facebook forums or tie-dye forums, you may see that referred to as DOI, for dye over ice. By the way, DUI is considered to be dye under ice. So I'm going to place a pretty generous portion of ice over the top of this shirt. And as I'm placing the ice on the shirt, I'm kind of pressing it into the fabric so that I can really layer that ice on. I'm also applying the ice when the shirt is laying flat on the table because I think it's easier to pack the ice on the shirt without it rolling down the shirt. Now to incline the shirt, I'm going to take one end of the vinyl guttering and place it down inside of the plastic tote and leave the other end hanging over the edge. I'm also going to touch up the ice just a little bit before I apply the dye. Whenever you incline the shirt, your ice is going to move around just a little, so I want to make sure it's on the shirt the way I want it to be before I start applying the dye. Now I'm going to sprinkle the Crimson Carnage from Dharma Trading Company over the top of the ice. And I'm going to pay special attention to make sure I get plenty of dye right up at the very top. This shirt pretty much fills up the entire piece of vinyl guttering, so sometimes it's a little hard to get the dye right up on that very end portion of the shirt. So for me, I like to use this technique to try out new colors. I really think that when the dye has the ability to flow the entire length of the shirt at an incline like it does on this design, it really has the ability to split and show all the cool color splits in a color. So I've tried like tall deep scrunches and a few other designs to really see the color splits, and I keep coming back to an incline twist. I get a lot more color splits, and I really see all the different colors in a dye color with this design. Once I have the dye over the top of the ice, I'm going to add an additional sprinkle of dry soda ash, and then I'm going to place the shirt aside and allow the ice to melt. After the ice melted, I came back and checked the shirt, and I had a couple of darker areas of dye. These are areas where the dye didn't fully dissolve. So I took a little bit of soda ash solution that I have inside of a spray bottle, and I sprayed those areas pretty heavily to try to get the dye to dissolve. Then I left the shirt alone and I allowed it to process for about 48 hours before I rinsed it. Then to rinse the shirt, I took it to my utility sink and I began rinsing it in cold water to rinse out the soda ash. I went ahead and took off the piece of kite string at the end of the shirt, allowed the shirt to go ahead and open up, and warmed the water up to hot and continued rinsing in hot water to try to rinse out the excess dye that didn't bond with the fabric. After rinsing for a while, I decided to go ahead and soak the shirt. So to do that, I placed some really hot water in my utility sink along with a little bit of Blue Dawn dish soap, and I placed the shirt inside. I also put another shirt that was close in color inside at the same time to soak them both together. The Blue Dawn dish soap in my water will keep any of the dye soaked out of this shirt or the other shirt from depositing on the fabric. When the water cooled off, I changed it out and I continued that soaking process until my water was remaining almost clear. Then I placed the shirt along with some Dharma's professional textile detergent into my washing machine and I washed it using a hot water cycle. Okay, so the shirt's been washed, dried, and ironed, and let's see what this color Crimson Carnage looks like. Okay, so what do you guys think? I think this one is a really pretty color. I, of course, love the red, but the red has a little bit of that more, I guess it would be blue red in it, and it also has a little bit more of the orangey red in it. I also really like that brown color split that's coming out, that kind of taupe and tan color. I think that looks really cool. So when I was rinsing out this color, I thought this color really reminds me of another Dharma color called Vintage Red. So I went ahead and pulled up one of my Incline twist shirts that I did using Vintage Red so that I could compare the two. And it doesn't look quite as much like the Crimson Carnage as I thought that it did. The Vintage Red has most definitely more of a pink hue to it rather than an orange. It does have that same tan color that splits out of it, and that's what made me think of the comparison between the two colors. By the way, if you're curious about Vintage Red, it's a color that Dharma doesn't offer all the time. It's one of their special order colors. And if you like it, you can usually buy it on a Facebook group called Tie-Dye Supplies Marketplace. I have a link to that group down below this video in the description. I just wanted to show the two colors. If you're familiar with the Vintage Red, the splits automatically made me think of that color. I do think the Crimson Carnage is really cool though. I think it is more of like a barn red type color. It would be perfect for all your fall tie-dyes. I think it would be a great color to put in geodes with this tan split that's coming out of it. I think that would look really cool in geodes. So I think the color is really cool overall. I'm really happy with it. I'll also stick a photo in here to compare it with one of the other curious colors that they were offering in October of 2025 called Cherry Smoke, just in case you're wondering if they're too close in color because one's called Crimson and one's called Cherry. They're very different. The Crimson Carnage is a much brighter colored shirt. The Cherry Smoke is exactly what you would expect. I mean, it's that darker kind of purpley red color, and it has lots of grays. So they're very different colors. They're both really pretty, but they're just very different. So overall, I really love this shirt. I love the color. I think it looks really cool. Love the dye flow. I think that is awesome the way it moves across the shirt. I can see tons of color splits. I'm just really happy with the shirt. But what do you guys think? Do you like it? Do you like this color? Please drop me some comments down below and let me know. And if you've enjoyed the video, I sure would appreciate it if you would like it and if you'd subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you'll hit the bell, you'll receive a notification whenever I upload a new video. Thank you all for watching, and I hope you have a great day.